Let's spotlight Dana Morrison, the man, the myth, the legend, the DM sliding up in the DMs, baby. What's up, Dana?
Wow,
that's a good intro,
crazy.
Right? What's going on, dude?
Right.
How's your business going?
So you gave me action back on our call about getting on 100, going after 100 top tech podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And right now I'm batting 0. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to figure out strategies to get out there, to loosen the connection, I think, with people. And some of them I've just reached out to, and they've stopped doing their podcast for whatever reason, but they're still showing up on the top list because they've got a lot of listens.
So here's what we got to do. Number one is, what can we control? What can we not control? All right. So if you've got your top 100 podcasters, so what you got to do is you got to go back through that list, and you need to go check if they're active podcasts. Like Jocelyn's been doing that recently. She's been doing this is called a guesting strategy. What we're trying to do is reach out to 100 people, and we're trying to basically get them. We're trying to reach out to 100 people to get 20 of them to let us on their podcast as a guest. All right. Mm-hmm. So the first thing you've got to do is control the controllables. You got to go back through that list, open their podcast, see when the last time they was. If it's over a month ago, I would just take them off your list. All right. Don't even reach out to them. Don't even look at it. Okay. All right. The second thing that you can control, and this does cost money, is you can hire a service to get you booked on these shows, and you can literally give them your list and they will reach out to them for you. There's a great service by a friend of mine named Travis Chappell. I have used this service. It was profitable. And it's called Guestio, Guestio. I would highly recommend Guestio. You'll have to go look at their packages and see what's going on there. But Guestio is a really cool service because, one, they can concierge, white glove, go find you guests. You can say, I want 4 a month. Let's make it happen. And they will make that happen. Okay. Awesome. And they'll say, how many people do you want on it? You say, here's a list of the podcasts I'd love to be on. They also have a marketplace that's kind of like Cameo, where you can literally go and pay people to be on their show. Like, you could go to guestio.com, type in tech podcasts or whatever, and you could just be like, oh, this dude will let me on a show for $300. Cool. Let's go do it and see what happens. Right. So that's another avenue that you can use if you want to kind of cheat. And that's the fast pass, like at Disney World. Like, you can just go kind of buy your way to the front. And also to expand out a little bit, when you start culling that list and you're like, that's not active, that's not active, that's not active. Go adjacent. Like, don't just think tech. Like, who else is in like your space, like business, industry, careers, right? Like, go out to like a lot of times we will go to the family channel because me and Jocelyn have like a family vibe. Like, we can look at other avenues. I won't always just say I'm only going to talk on entrepreneurship podcasts. Like, I've been on crazy stuff. I was on Coast to Coast AM. Which is a radio show that talks about Bigfoot and UFOs. And I was on, it's got 1 million listeners a night. And I was on Christmas night about 3 years ago. They had me on to talk about stuff for like an hour because a lot of their listeners were like in the pandemic and they wanted to like show them an alternative to make some money at home. So I'm like, you know what? I'm sure most of those people like will be hilarious and not interested in what I'm probably a little pissed off that we're talking about UFOs, honestly. Right. But like we got 3,000 emails off of that radio appearance. Right. So I was like, I don't care, man. I mean, 97% of you hated my guts, but 3% of you loved it. So let's go. Let's do this. Right. Whatever it is. That was terrible math, by the way. 3% of 1 million is not 3,000, but maybe 0.03%. Right. So like, that's some things you can do to kind of help that guesting strategy along, so that you can kind of get through it like a little bit quicker. And also too, it is a shotgun strategy. You're really going numbers game. You're like, man, if I can ask 100 people and get 10 of them, and then I go ask another 100 people and I get 10 of them, and you can go back and ask them again. Remember, that's marketing. It takes 7 to 10 exposures before anyone's going to pay attention. Another thing you can do when you're doing like any kind of like guesting strategy is you've got to tell them what's in it for them, right? So lead with things like go look and see if they do interviews and say, I'd love to have you on my podcast. I'll have you on my podcast first, and maybe I could be on yours. Or I'd love to serve your audience. I think I can bring value to your audience. And I think your audience would have a lot of value with what we're doing here. Try to figure out a way to bring some value to the other person that you're asking to get in front of their platform, or they're not gonna they're not going to do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not going to do anything with you. So like, you could also bribe people. Like, one time I found out this really cool guy, I wanted to talk to him on my podcast, and then maybe open the door for being on his later. I found out he was a huge WWE wrestling fan back in the 90s. Like, he loved wrestling. I saw this on him on another interview or something. So like, you got to kind of stalk people a little bit, right? And or something. We got to talking about it, and I figured out that he liked the WWE wrestler from the 90s. His name was Tatanka. He was a Native American guy. He went on an undefeated streak, and he was like, oh man, I just found out he loved Tatanka. So like, he loved this wrestler. So I got on eBay, and for $20 I found a 1993 WWE magazine that was Tatanka on the cover, and it was autographed by Tatanka. Like, he had actually autographed this thing. They were selling it for like $20. So I bought that thing. I shipped that thing to that guy. He freaked out, and he was like, dude, I'll do your podcast. You do my, like, it was like just totally opened the door. Right. So stuff like that. Like, you got to get creative with this. You definitely want to take a first pass ask to everybody. But the more individualized that you can make that, the better that it's going to be.